Okay, we're going to talk about this today. This is the SOG PowerPint. We're going to talk about what it offers first. We're going to start there. Then we're going to talk about why the hell I bought it. And then we'll talk about how it worked out for it, along with what I think about it. So, let's have a little water. It's always good to start with moisture in the mouth. So, this is the SOG PowerPint. It's a little guy. Let's see. Can you see how small that is? It's still tiny. It's the size of my middle finger. And honestly, not much wider. I think I saw pictures of this and I thought it was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be a lot bigger, but I thought it was going to be a tiny bit bigger. I think the smallness of this really doesn't come across in photos. It's tiny. Let's take this little Ranger band off there. We'll get back to that later. So, what does this offer? What is in here? What do we have? Well, first of all, you got a pretty darn sturdy pocket clip there. Look at that. Not a bad pocket clip. Pocket clip, or might even, if you got a thin enough belt, you almost might be able to call it a belt clip. Main feature of this. Yeah. It's basically, this is like a little baby Leatherman that never grew up. It's a little Leatherman. You got needle nose. You got pretty good sized quote unquote regular pliers section there. You got wire clippers there, and you even have, I think, this section down here might actually, no, I take it back. I was gonna say that might function as a crimper, but I don't think it will. I don't think that's what the purpose of it is. I haven't tried it. Somebody will probably correct me, so just wait for them to do it and you'll have the answer. Why do all the work myself when I can farm it out to you guys? All right, so what else does this offer? Well, you've got these really hard to open blades. I'll show you. I can do it one-handed if I really want. I wouldn't recommend this because you're likely to split your finger open if you slip. So you got a serrated edge. There's a plain edge in here too. We'll open that in a second. Personally, I feel like both on the same knife is a little bit of an overkill, but we have that. And actually, I'm going to show you a little trick. Some people that have reviewed this have figured this out. Other people haven't. A lot of people complain about, oh, it's a locking blade and you have to open it all the way up here and push this black thing here to loosen it up. No, you don't. Just open another tool. Pull another one out. Boom, now they both go in. Good trick. And while we're doing that, let's get that other tool back out. Which, as I said, these tools don't come out super easy. They're not tight, it's just hard to access them. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on these because they're pretty familiar. You've got can opener, quote unquote can opener, with a not very sharp blade. Can you see how not sharp that is? Look at even that side, it's literally flat right there. I'm not sure this would open a can, to be honest. I mean, it might. You'd have to work pretty hard at it. I guess it's sort of sharpened to a chisel tip there, but I don't know what this tip is. I don't know why they missed the opportunity of making that a flathead tip like Victorinox does. But the tip of it is useless. I don't know, is that supposed to be like a SIM card pusher? That's too big. I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be. I guess we're mixing in some of my thoughts on this already. I can't help it. Phillips head. That's nice. It's good to have. Decent. And then the bottle opener, which is the flimsiest looking bottle opener I've ever seen. And once again, the useless tip. Maybe this tip, maybe they did this because they convinced themselves that it would make you able to take the tool out easier. And I guess it kind of does. But in reality, you end up doing what I did, is just opening all of them up. And then lastly, we have scissors. And I have to say, these are the most unimpressive scissors I've ever seen on a multi-tool. What do I mean? Check it out. That's as wide as they open. Yep, that's it. That's it. You have anything bigger than that, sorry, you're going to have to use your knife. And it's hardwired because of that. It's not really even a spring. I mean, its function as a spring, but it's literally just, it's not very springy. These are pretty tight, and the cutting on them is what I would describe mediocre. Passing grade. They are not Victorinox scissors. They're not even Leatherman scissors. So SOG could do a lot better. That's really, the scissors were one thing that I was really interested in because I use scissors a lot, and these were just so underwhelming that it bummed me out. And then we have file. I'm not someone who uses a file a lot. I don't necessarily need a file, but I'll tell you what, the file is probably one of my favorite things on here because this is a really nice file. Pretty coarse. This bottom side, I believe, is actually coarse enough to actually work to cut metal or to file metal. And then this side's pretty good too. It's a pretty, for the size of it, it's a pretty good file. I like it. Might be my favorite tool on here. Then we've got the cord cutter. I mean, I don't understand tool sets. I mean, Victorinox does weird stuff like this too, where you're like, oh, are we really cutting that many cords? That it's an essential tool. Another weird choice here, tiny flathead. This could have been covered by making it the tip of one of these, and then you wouldn't need this. You could have put something else here. I'll just give you a tease of the blade. Might as well pull the blade out. This blade, it's kind of a, I don't know if you'd call that a sheep's foot or a Warncliffe. I think it's more of a Warncliffe. Is it Warncliffe or Wardenclyffe? I think it's Warncliffe. It's reasonably sharp out of the box. I think you can get a pretty decent edge on it. It's nothing to write home about, but I mean, we are talking about a small blade. I would put this against the Victorinox blade and say that the Victorinox, those little spearhead blades that we underestimate from Victorinox all the time, is a better blade. It's better metal, and I don't know. It's just a better knife. The other tool in here that's surprisingly robust is this awl. It's actually a little terrifying. This isn't a very, very aggressive awl. Very aggressive. But I would trust it to do its purpose. This and the file are probably two of the best made tools on here. Then, of course, I showed you the pliers, but I didn't show you this, which is a neat feature. Actually, I didn't mention something about these pliers too. These gears here, I know there's a name for it. It's a compress something or other. I don't remember. I'm not the guy who's going to give you the breakdown all this. I just give you opinions. This allows you to be able to open the pliers up like that, which is actually a very nice feature. I don't think most of the Leathermans even open this wide. So that's pretty nice because of these gears. But those gears also afford you the ability to put a bit in there. And now you have a center drive screwdriver. Some people I've seen getting the Leatherman ratchet extender, which for some reason is not available anywhere right now, and put it in there, and then you actually have essentially a full-size screwdriver. So that's a pretty neat trick. And that's probably the most innovative feature about this. And it's nice, but let's get into, actually, let's talk about why I bought this before we go into what I think about it. I bought this because I'm always trying to reevaluate my EDC. I'm always trying to question, do I need this? What do I actually need on me? When do I need it? And sometimes I run tests. And one test I tried to do was, what if I could get a tool like this that's going to offer me pliers, screwdriver, and wrong side, scissors, and a knife. Everything else was kind of extra, but those like 4 things were like the big things. What if I could get those all in one package? Like, could I get away with using the scissors? Sure. I mean, the Victorinox scissors are smaller than that. Problem is, the Victorinox scissors are better, and these scissors bite. They bite ass. They're awful. And as much as I want to think that I could survive with a knife that small, I can't. That's pretty small. Actually, I actually happen to have a ruler here. Let's see, how big is that? Or how small is that, I should say. We're looking at, looks like exactly 2 inches. So this is a 2-inch blade. It's not tiny, tiny, but I mean, it's not like a Victorinox Classic, which is, I think, would only be that big. But in reality, this wasn't going to do what I wanted to do. I'm going to be honest with you. When this showed up in the mail, and I opened it in the package, and I flipped it around, and I moved some stuff, and I looked at everything, I was like, ugh. I can't say this is a terrible thing. I think for what it is and for the price, it's probably about what it should be. But I was just completely underwhelmed. Maybe because I was hoping that I would discover, like, hey, this is cool. I can just clip this on my pocket. I have a knife, I have scissors, I have screwdriver, I have pliers, and it's all in this tiny package. And when I go for a jog, I can take it with me. I can throw it in the 5th pocket of a jeans. I can just really minimize my carry so much. But this was just so underwhelming. So the pliers are good. But I will tell you something, and this is probably blasphemy in an EDC type video. I am not a big fan of this. I'm not a big fan of the Leatherman style multi-tool. It doesn't do much for me. I don't use pliers enough for this to wow me and be like, wow, that's awesome. That's why I was always okay with the pliers that are in the Swiss Champ, because I don't use pliers that often, and those were workable for me. So this doesn't do much for me. The problem with the screwdriver thing here, as cool as it is, do you notice something missing from here? I purposely didn't bring it into this video because I wanted you to see this the way it comes out of the package, with none of the things added. It holds a bit, but where the hell is the bit? It doesn't come with a bit. It doesn't come with multiple bits. Like you think it would come with a Phillips head and a flathead. They don't have to be great quality. You can throw cheap ones in there as long as they work. But it doesn't come with those, and there's nowhere to store those. So if you're thinking about using this as an everyday screwdriver and you put this in your pocket and you go somewhere, guess what? Unless you also happen to have bits in your pocket, this doesn't do a damn thing. It's just a hole that gets bigger and smaller. That's it. And forgot to mention one thing. This is a really pathetic little lanyard thing. They should have just left it off completely. It's got a pocket clip. What purpose does this serve? So as far as a screwdriver, I really, you're better off with built-in screwdrivers. You know why? Because they're there. They're there when you need them. What are you going to do here? You're going to tape the bits to this so that it all fits together? You're going to hold the bits in a different pocket? You're going to bring something along just so that you have something to carry the bits in? It defeats a lot of the purpose of this form factor. So not a big fan of that. I think that's kind of a big, big turd. What else? The blade I said was too small. Love the file. Oh, the scissors. Yeah, let's go back to the scissors. You can't rely on these scissors. You can't even really cut paracord with it. Here, I got a paracord bracelet on here. I'm not going to cut it, but look at that. Paracord barely fits in it. So really, this is, you're only going to cut some zip ties, which I'm not even sure these blade, I don't even know if they cut a zip tie. They're not super great at cutting paper. You need to carry scissors around just because every once in a while you need to cut paper. You know one thing you're not going to be able to use these for very well? This. Look. It does it, but it doesn't do a great job. That's a pretty rough edge. Good thing you have a really robust file in here. So SOG PowerPint, some people love this thing. I'm not one of them. Let's go back to this. Why do I have this and why the heck was it on there? Well, let me show you. That's what happens. Check this out. Whoop. 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 I have it at a weird angle because the camera's like this. I can't really show you from side to side, but look at that. I mean, it's cool if you're the person that wants to do this all day, which hurts because it hits your damn knuckles. It'll go back and forth. The back is a little harder. But if you want to keep this closed, especially, let's just imagine you have this clipped to your pocket, right? See, look at the direction it is. So you have it clipped to your pocket. So you better have this butted up against the back end of your pocket like this, just to keep it closed. So I threw a Ranger band on there, and that keeps it closed. I don't hate this thing completely in the sense that I think it's worthless. I wouldn't trust this as an EDC. As having this around as like an extra tool where you're like, oh, mostly, oh, good thing I have those pliers. That's the main reason to keeping this thing around. I threw it in my bag that I take when I go out to certain places, like if I'm going somewhere to read, I need a bag big enough to fit a book in. This is in there. Will I ever use it? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. If I'm taking the bag with the book in it, I'm probably not going to be around doing a lot of stuff that requires pliers, but it'll be there because I own it now. Sunk cost fallacy. I own it, therefore I must find a need for it. But I could have done with some other tools here, couldn't you? Couldn't you just imagine if all the tools were as quality as these two right here that I can't even separate. See, it's actually not very fun to work with. But these two are great. These two are wonderful. And the pliers is great. The pliers are great. I just don't use them often enough. So SOG PowerPint. Oh, I forgot to mention there's a completely useless ruler right here. Let me show you that up close. If we can get it to focus. Yeah, see the ruler right there? Completely useless because this black section is right in the middle of it. So what if you're measuring something that's this long? You just go, well, I guess it's bigger than 1 inch. Yeah, oh, it's on the other side too. I didn't even notice. Except this side doesn't even have numbers. It's literally just lines. I don't know. It looks like there's a 0 there. No, that's a rivet hole. That's not a number. So there's no numbers on this side. See, there's a rivet hole on that side. So I don't know what you're supposed to do with this. What this feels like. This feels like somebody had a pretty good idea, which would be this and the pliers, that screwdriver pliers and these gears here. Somebody had a really good idea with that, and they handed it off to somebody else, and somebody else went, what's the cheapest thing we can do? What is the cheapest thing we can do to those great ideas? And I don't know about this finish, this weird kind of matty silvery finish. It makes the tools look cheaper. And I don't know what kind of metal we're dealing with here. I don't even know if I can say it's steel. I'm not even positive it's steel. To be honest, what this color makes the blades and everything look like is pot metal. I hope it's not pot metal because that means these blades will be snapping off left and right. But that's what it makes it look like. So that's probably part of the underwhelming thing too, where it has a finish that makes it look cheaper than it probably is in quality. But overall, it's just a very underwhelming tool. So this might be my first purely negative review that I've done. But I bought this with hopes, and my hopes were dashed. Bummer, because it's made in America, I think. SOG makes things in America. I'm not positive if this exact one was made in America. Now that I say that, I think it was. I think that's why I bought it. But what a bummer.